Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at Remnant from the Ashes, developed by Gunfire Games and published by Perfect World. Thanks to them for the review copy and making this video possible. Now, Remnant is a third-person action RPG heavily based on the Souls series, but this time with guns. And no, I don't mean just like Bloodborne, I mean that guns is kind of your main way of fighting back. In Remnant, the apocalypse is here and the roots are to thank for this. And though they do explain the story, it does lack a bit of personality and is definitely not the best part of the game. I should also mention that the levels are randomly generated, so the world does have a tough time integrating story elements into the environment. But I would also say that I have seen worse levels even handcrafted. Now, you may be thinking by the looks of this and by the sounds of this that this is a looter shooter, but it's not the case. Matter of fact, this is one of the things that does fall a bit behind to something like a Souls-based game. Now, the game does do a nice job of doing the whole very hard but also at the same time fair feeling, but the rewards and loot you get do fall a bit behind and you don't feel like you may have been rewarded fairly. Like, sure, you get the whole wow, I finally done that boss, I feel so amazing with myself and all that, but as far as actual general loot and armor and weapons in the game, I do feel like the reward should be a bit better. The world is randomly generated, like we said before, or at least the layout of the areas are randomly generated. The bosses are also in a random order, so if you play the game multiple times, you will get the bosses in different orders, and people that you may know playing the game will also get the bosses in different orders. So it does feel like a roguelike game in that aspect, except obviously that you don't have to restart every single time you die, and the game isn't exactly that short. Now, each area does look good, and most of them do look unique enough. You can go from deserts to swamps to forests and stuff like that. The character models, on the other hand, I would say that they could have been a bit better. Also, you can explore the environments to get unique loot, but because of kind of the way the random generated stuff is made on the game, you will have to play through the game multiple times if you want to check everything out, which is okay, since like obviously it's a random generated game and it will be different the next time through. Plus the simple fact that when you go into a co-op game, because this game does have co-op, and you fight beside somebody, you still keep all that like exploration and mysterious feeling about it, since their world is obviously going to have a different layout than yours, so that is definitely a good thing. Combat is obviously the main part of this type of game, and like I said before, it does do a great job of keeping the whole hard but fair thing. Well, at least it does for the main part, apart from those few enemies and few bosses that can literally spam stun lock you, or like some of the bosses that also have some secondary enemies with them that it's impossible to keep track of both things, and they can literally insta-kill you. But for the most part, it does keep a good job of doing hard and fair at the same time. Now, in combat, you will have a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, and a melee weapon. Also, you will have an armor set and 3 trinkets that will give you some passives. Also, you will be able to equip mods to the weapons. These will give them some passive boosts and effects, which is also pretty cool. The leveling up system is very simple. You basically unlock new stats that you can unlock as you go, and then you just pretty much just choose what you want to level up, and you can do this even if you're in the middle of the street. You can do this wherever you want. You don't have to be at a checkpoint or anything like that. And the great boss designs, like you can fight dragons, you can fight some really weird bosses, and I do think the design of the bosses is great, and the combat is a lot of fun in general. Plus stuff like the good hitboxes and way you can kind of combo long range rifles with shotguns and then turn to your melee weapon and do some close quarter combat. It's just a lot of fun in general. Sometimes the controllers do feel a bit more sluggish than something like the Dark Souls game, but nothing too bad that you won't get used to. The only thing I do have to complain about in this aspect is maybe a few random difficulty spikes being a bit over the top. Like some of the bosses you'll probably kill in a few attempts, and then the next boss it will take you like 20 attempts if you're not doing it co-op. But, you know, I'm sure you get through it in the end if you don't give up. As far as the graphics go, the environments do look good, but the NPC side of things could definitely do a lot better. On the PC, the game will run at a very smooth 60 plus FPS, and on consoles it will run at a stable 30 FPS. As far as audio goes, the voice acting's okay, nothing great, but the lip sync can be all over the place sometimes, and you know, the environments, the guns and all that sounds absolutely amazing, so no complaint there. So if you do feel like you want to play a Dark Souls type games but with some shooting in the middle, then you should definitely check this one out. From me, it is an 8 out of 10. Hopefully this review is helpful, guys. If it was, please go like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time, guys.